What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode for The Witch and the Beast. This is episode 3, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
Yep. So, picking up after the the last episode in which Asaf, Guido, and of course Inspector Hines are investigating the witch serial killings. Um, they find out that this witch has been killing other people other than the young woman you know that she's been targeting. So this kind of throws their like investigating investigation into a loop. Um, so they refer to Hines as as like as some kind of clue as to as being connected to these witch serial killings, and of course we do get her backstory as to you know what might have possibly caused this. So back then, so we do get Hein's backstory, as to what happened. So we do see back then like she had a boyfriend as well as two sons, but one night like her house was set on fire, and she believes that her two sons that were at home at the time were killed in the fire, and then soon after that, both her and her boyfriend were investigating like these witch attacks, and unfortunately, her boyfriend ends up getting murdered by this witch by having his head crushed by a brick.
And then we cut back to, I guess, the uh, Guido and Ashef helping out with this investigation into these murders. Uh, they they go to this one place. I forget exactly why. They go to this house and they find there's like a dead body there.
Yeah, they also mentioned that the witch also leaves like these like these messages after they killed someone, and of course all these messages are all linked to Inspector Hines. And of course, one night when which they're walking around at night, they both Asaf and Guido realize that they're being tailed by somebody, and they find out that it's the witch that has been targeting them. Um, I mean, fortunately, even with Asaf without his coffin, they were able to fend off this witch, and the witch ends up escaping. Um, following this, this witch stages another attack, this time on the police headquarters, with Asaf, Guido, and Hines, uh, participating in the attack. Well, not participating, being involved in defending the police headquarters from the witch attack. And of course, the witch ends up killing several officers here and there, and they end up following the witch, to her hideout. But soon as they reach the hideout, they find out that the perpetrator was in fact Victor Hines' two sons, who she thought were dead during the fire.
Yeah, I honestly I thought this was one of the kind of the weirder parts from the manga. Because like we find out that the motivations that of course, like you said, yeah, we find out that they're her sons that we had believed had been killed in the fire. But we also find out that, well, apparently they are under the, I guess, control of these grimoires that they found. And because of the grimoires, they've been just compelled to, I guess, to kill people. Um, but we also discover that, I guess, part of their motivation for killing was because they were in love with we found out she's their stepmother, and that I guess that they were adopted. But we find out that I guess both of them were in love with her. And that was like, I guess that might have been part of the reason why they killed her boyfriend at the time. Um, but they're pretty easily taken down by Gudo, who easily incapacitates them. Well, pretty, I would say, like, beats them up pretty bad too. Um, and they're pretty much at the mercy of their mother, and she ends up just shooting both of them. But we find out later that I guess if they had lived, they would have been executed anyway. So she just ends up killing them herself.
Yeah, it's because of the grimoires that they were in possession of, which
Yeah,
required them to, to kill or make, or make sacrifices on behalf of the grimoire in order to, keep those two alive. We wouldn't have known what would have happened had they been alive, whether if like like whether if the grimoire would have given them like a slow, painful death. But I guess in a way, their mother gave them like um, a more merciful sort of death in a way, even though if they don't really know it. But um, part of her believes that that their actions have left them to be completely irredeemable after all the murders they committed.
yeah. So like after this, that's pretty much, I guess, sort of like the ending of this particular story arc. Because I mean, the episode title is like the witch's pastime or something, like the final act.
Final act. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess this might be the last time we see her character for a little bit. So they kind of say their goodbyes at the end of the episode, where she says like if she ever needs them again, she'll call on them. Um, and then that's kind of how we wrap things up. Um, so we're not really sure where the story is going to go from here. Of course, if you're an anime only watcher, um, but it kind of seems like this was just sort of a mini arc, I guess, and um, it kind of like the story kind of is like that for a little bit until we get into like I would say like sort of like bigger, more impactful story arcs that are probably going to come up soon. Uh, but there are some other arcs that introduce some other characters and that are I think in the same organization, I guess, that Ashraf and Gudo are in. Um, but it kind of feels like the beginning of the story sort of like sets up the world and some of the other characters in the plot.
Yeah. And overall, I mean, uh, yeah, this story arc just went by, like really quickly. I mean, it was only like a 2 episode story arc. I mean, I was hoping that there'd be more uh into this whole like big story twist, but honestly, it kind of felt like a little bit underwhelming, and I think some parts of it were um kind of gave it away in terms of like Heinz's backstory, in terms of her connection to to the witch murders.
Yeah, I think it was fairly predictable who the culprits were, uh, considering we never actually saw her two sons dying, um, and and also like it felt like they kind of like their deaths were kind of just sort of, it happened so fast and that it wasn't really a lot of she didn't really feel I mean obviously she didn't want to do it, but we don't really see her feeling much grief over it. I guess it makes sense, but at the same time it's like it felt like it was all just kind of it all kind of went by fairly quick. It kind of happens the same way in the manga too, but I feel like also in the manga the art makes up for quite a bit of somewhat what the story lacks, I would say. Whereas the anime doesn't really have that luxury because of it being animated, or it just being animated the way it is. But yeah, I feel like in my opinion this is also one of the weaker parts of the manga for me. It does get better progressively, but this was this wasn't really was probably, like I said, yeah, one of my least favorite parts from the manga, and it felt like it was just it needed a little bit more time to sort of like uh to sort of build up her backstory, or just like her motivations, or because it felt like it went by too fast. Like it happened
Yeah.
the same way in the manga too, where it just everything happened way too quick, and
Yeah.
yeah.
She kind of got thrown in there, like pretty quickly, and I mean, I'm still curious of whether or not they might end up bringing her back into at a later storyline. But I
Probably.
mean, that would involve her leaving her her post at that city. So it's kind of really hard to tell whether or not that it'll bring her back in some capacity.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't really have too much else to say. I don't know if you have anything else to say about this episode.
I mean, it was it was okay, but a bit underwhelming at the same time, because we kind of it was kind of obvious like halfway through that like where this was going in terms of Kira's backstory and how she was connected to this.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully we'll get to see like I would say I'll be hoping uh what would be the best word for it? Like a much better storyline of involving Asaf and Gito, hopefully finding like a more threatening like opponent, like another witch of
Oh.
swords.
Oh yeah. Don't I will say don't worry about that because the I will say pretty soon, not the next episode, but definitely pretty soon we're going to
Mm,
get that. My only concern with that is that I mean I have been reading the story arc from the manga, and there are some pretty insane fight scenes, and I'm just really concerned with how this animation studio is going to handle it. Because I would say it's something on the level of something you'd see in like Jujutsu Kaisen or something, and
mhm.
I don't know, I don't really don't know if Yokohama Animation Lab is going to be able to deliver on that. Um, but I guess we'll see. Because like yeah, right now there's not really with what the stuff they're covering in the story right now. There's nothing too crazy like that, but there will be fairly soon. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. But
Mm.
yeah, other than that, I don't really have too much else to say. And I guess that all being said, guys, until next time, we will see you all later.